We are doing it. We're doing it on the Houndsman XP Podcast. We just got back from Texas, man. And we got, this is a point blank. And we just got back from Texas at the help me out, American Hunting Terrier Association.
That's it.
Jagdterrier. What's the second
Club.
part of that, Chad? Oh, yeah, Jagdterrier Breed Club, which I'm a member of. I just don't know the name of it.
It's a lot of words. It's very wordy.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had a good time down there. We got Chad and Seth both in here to recap that weekend and kind of break down what happened and why everybody should go to the Jagd Terrier trials down in Tyler, Texas, at least once.
You guys heard us talk about it on our last episode, all mixed up. We kind of gave a brief synopsis, but you remember me talking about it. I was saying, hey, we're going to break it down more in the point blank with all the boys here. So, yeah, it was crazy. I had a good time, learned a ton, and saw a lot of crazy little dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had about 100 this year. Generally, they have a little bit more, but it was still, the rain made some people quit on us, but I think we're still 100 dogs there.
That would be me.
And me.
Is that right?
I was a total pansy in the rain. I was like, nope. And I got annihilated by chiggers. Everyone was like, no, them chiggers are dead. And I was like, all right, fine, whatever. Got annihilated by chiggers. What the hell?
I have no idea how that happened. Did you get a chigger bite, Chad?
I'm immune, though. As long as somebody's around, evidently like Seth or my wife or a few other of my friends and family, that as long as they're around, they don't mess with me at all. They
That's the way it is with ticks with me back east here.
They're the worst.
Yeah.
The first time I encountered chiggers was in Central Texas, and it was a verdant, beautiful green field. And when someone from the waste desert sees a verdant field, of course, what do? You take your shoes off.
What the hell's a verdant? Hey, I'm tired of this big. What is a
verdant
field?
What
is that?
Like pristine, green, in a natural state of beauty.
Oh, okay. So when you see a girl green field,
pretty much. I saw a beautiful, lush green field. Do you know what lush means? And so
yes,
I took off gleefully scurrying, running through this green field. Well, I got home later that day, and I was destroyed by chiggers, but I didn't know what they were. So I was just like, dude, my legs itch so bad. And my buddy was like, oh, yeah, that field is full of chiggers. I just wanted to see you run through there so I could laugh at you later. And I was like, I hate you. So
maybe that's what it is. Verdant is Italian for chigger.
Verdant field. There you go. Chad, maybe you're like the Illuminati there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got annihilated by chiggers, and that sucked.
I'll tell you what I was impressed by. For one thing, the digs where we stay was awesome. I'm not going to tell anybody where it's at. I'm not going to give them any props because I want to make sure it's available for us the next time we go. But, man, the place we stayed was it was as cheap as a nice hotel. It slept 8 people. It had 40 acres. It had its own private lake. And place. What'd you guys think? It about
was
that
beautiful.
house?
Fantastic. I felt fancy.
Yeah, well, Chad, you had the king suite going on in there. I had to share a loft with Michael. So you had a perfect king bed. Everything was beautiful. You had a lakefront view. I woke up to the snoring, hibernating bear of Michael.
At least you weren't like Tyler sleeping with that. Who was that dude he was sleeping with in there? I didn't even ask.
Yeah. He had a buddy with him.
Hopefully on the floor.
Yep. Yeah. My shower was huge. I could stick my arms out in both directions. I couldn't touch either wall. Totally, wings spread wide. Couldn't touch any of the walls.
A king bed is essential. Like I have a beautiful wife, and I still want my king size bed. I got a king size bed. There's no other way. I want this verdant field of bed to lay upon, and I don't want to be getting kicked, bashed by a frenzied sleeper. So I don't know what size bed you guys sleep on, but if it's not a king size bed, you might as well sleep on hay. That's all I got to say.
Hey, we've been in a queen size bed, and my wife might as well be in another zip code most of the time. I don't even know she's there. I don't even know how we had 3 kids, honestly, but that's another topic for another podcast.
Yeah. Chad, do you got a queen size bed or what?
Yeah, I got a queen. That's what I got. I'm too cheap though. I do the queen size thing, but then I got to buy new stuff.
Nope. It's a third of your life. Spend the money. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, I spent the money on the mattress.
Yeah.
But anyway, the house we stayed at it wasn't terribly. It was the only inconvenience we had was the fact that they need to put some gravel in the driveway. That's the first one. There's a mud slick all the way through there, and we had that road tracked up out front. I don't know if they knew who was coming or not, but if we just showed up in like a bunch of micro cars, rental cars or something, we couldn't have got out of there.
I've been over.
Yeah, it was a slick. Yeah, for sure.
We would have high centered in like a Prius or something. I think a Prius would have high centered in the driveway.
Yeah, and the high center part would have come because you were sinking down in that red gumbo mud, clay mud stuff.
That's right.
It was horrible. I bet they loved us when they left with all the ruts in that road. They were like, "Crap, we meant to put gravel on that before we came." That's what it looked like it was prepped for.
Yeah, it was. It was fortunate that we had 4-wheel drive. That's all I got to say about that. I've said that like 5 times today. I've had a lot of finality statements today.
Yeah. Well, Chad, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you about, the jagdterrier breed club and things like that. Cause I mean, you were a rock star when it's like, where's Chad? And you're working hogs. You were, working on the tunnels. You were working on doing all this stuff. And how many years you been in that crowd?
Gosh. More than 5, less than 10. That way, keep me from lying somewhere right around in there. But all the credit really goes to them. I just help out. I mean, they got guys that are dedicated. I mean, they're already thinking about the next one, and they're planning this and that, where it's going to be and what kind of upgrades they can do and improve the testing of the dogs that go to the club and all that. And so I just kind of, I can't stay as involved as the other guys do. So when I show up, I generally just, what needs doing, and I jump right into it. And a lot of times it happens to be the really cool stuff. So it works out for all parties, But yeah, they're outstanding. So all the real credit goes to them for putting it on. I just kind of helped.
Who's them? Who are the guys that are?
Gosh, I'm gonna mess up the board of directors here, but of course, James Mills. He's probably one of the tallest poles in the tent there. And then there's like David Williams, Jason Swetzer, oh gosh, Burns is the last name, and on the spot I'm forgetting his first name.
Right. Paul Greenwood owns the grounds, right? He owns that property.
Yeah, that's right, and he always is very hospitable. I mean, that's a lot of room for all the parking for like 100 dogs and all the equipments, 2 tunnel systems, the bay pen, the track and tree events, the retrieve events, they have some other stuff that we can get into with the rain, the coursing and terrier coursing, stuff like that. I mean, that's a lot of room, and then when it rains like that, we rut it up and they just put it back together. So Paul's awesome. He's got the museum there that he's really proud of, the Doghorn Museum.
It's the horniest place in Texas, actually. It's the horniest place in Texas, I'll have you know.
It is
There's a sticker on the wall that says that.
Yeah, he's got a lot of Doghorns there, makes them and does all that. So I'm sure I'm forgetting some of the board members. I am sorry, but there's a bite of them,
Yeah. I saw a lot of people doing a lot of work and a lot of people having a lot of fun, and I didn't see a lot of drama, It was just people coming together to have a good time for the weekend and get together and have a good time.
It was super laid back.
My daughter's there. It's a family event, but at the same time,
there's tons of kids.
There's tons of kids there, and they're just walking around having a blast. That's one of the great things. You feel safe. That's it's not everywhere you can turn loose your kid in a mob of other kids, and there's giant boar hogs around and a few hundred hunting dogs, and just be like, we're good. This is the right kind of people, And at the same time, it could get wild, and you could have a whole lot of fun. But at the same time, it's not dirty humor, and like your kids are okay there,
Right?
It's okay there. So yeah, it's one of my favorite times, But at the same time, some other dog trials can kind of be a little pinky in the air, And the Terrier trials are kind of like a salt of the earth type operation, like overalls and good food. Everybody's cooking. You cannot leave there hungry. People are stuffing food in your face, So yeah, I could brag on it forever. They're great people, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Ed Barnes from Tuskers Magazine brought the whole fire pit operation. He was cooking. I'm sure he had a possum in that pot. I know he did.
I didn't know what he was cooking in there. I walked by and I was like, okay, all right. But they were cooking the jalapeno poppers, and I saw Michael eating one. And I was like, oh, I didn't know they were for us. I thought they were just theirs. I didn't ask for one.
I go by and Ed's like handing me a couple of jalapeno poppers on a plate, and I checked out his knives. That guy is he's something else. He's an interesting guy. He's written a book about hog hunting. He runs Tuskers Magazine. He's made the hats that I'm wearing right now.
Oh, is that right?
Embroidered hats. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He's
a great guy.
Yeah, these came from Nova. His shop.
One of his cross draw knives. I haven't bought it yet, but I look at it every day.
And he's a bladesmith. That's the thing. I mean, that guy makes some nice knives.
He does. I'm gonna get one.
Yeah.
Need to step up 100%. My game.
All right.
I know. I'm sitting around thinking, what the heck am I doing with all my time?
This show.
Talking. It takes a lot of time.
It does.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, he's great.
No doubt.
His book too. I picked up a hard copy of his book, and I've kind of thumbed through it, and I got it set out so I won't forget it. But I haven't really got to sink my teeth into it yet. But I picked up a hard copy of his book in the pursuit of hog dogs. Pretty cool.
It's an interesting read. He's got a very unique way of writing, and it's very well thought out. He's very articulate in his writing, and he's got a lot of good perspectives on things in that book.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend the book. I want to go back to the Horn Museum, though. That Horn Museum, it surprised me. It did. We walked through it and looked at the different horns, but there are some hunting horns in there that were as fine of carved horns as I've ever seen. And I've lived around some of the greatest horn makers. I'm a member of the Contemporary Long Rifle Association, where they do scrimshaw and they do all of these period correct bags and horns and all this stuff. But some of the horns I saw at the Boar's Nest were exquisite. You would like that word, Seth. Exquisite.
I thought.
Yeah.
Seth word.
Yeah. They were awesome.
And there's a lot of history with it too.
They're awesome. Yeah, there were some ones that were like etched, like carved with stuff in the horn, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And also, do you think you could play one, Chris?
I have blown through a horn but it's not very impressive.
I see.
I've got a friend of mine who is a trumpet player. I've got a horn here that was made for the Hoosier Tree Dog Alliance. I picked it up and it's scrimshaw with the logo and stuff. But I tried to blow that horn, and it just sounds like a sick cow. And when Steve picks it up, it sounds like a freaking trumpet, man. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I've always struggled with those.
I played a trumpet in high school, and so I could do it, but I don't think it would sound very good.
Yes. No, you would get it. You would be able to, I mean, just the tone, having that airflow and tone and all of it. There's an art
changing up your aperture and your embouchure. That's the term to like adjust the pitch. Yeah. Learning new things every day.
Yeah. Yep. So one of the biggest surprises for me at the trials was meeting Travis Heyer from Idaho.
I had a good time with him.
And the guy drove all the way from Idaho. And getting back to what you said, Chad, about the kids, we were standing there and we were talking about the dynamics of hunting and the future of hunting and all this stuff. And Travis and I were standing there and we were talking. I said, look around. Look at the people under 30 years old. And then and he said, well, look at the kids. Look at the kids that are here. It was very encouraging.
A good comeback for sure.
To see that crowd.
He was a good sport. I had a lot of good times with him. Patrons, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Him and Roy.
What else are we missing? What else are we missing about the Terrier trials? We're ripping.
Well, I thought all the tunnel system stuff was really cool. I tried my best to scurry to all of the competitions, but I missed the track and tree because I was running around getting the voices of all the people there. And, you listened to it last week on All Mixed Up, but I really did miss that. I was kind of bummed out to not see that, but I did see a lot of the tunnel work. I can't remember what the tunnel was called, Chad, up top. That was like above the setup above the boar's nest. And then down below, there was the one. Yes. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, they called that the Thunder Tunnel, as after the Thunderdome.
Yes. And so, and then I saw the other tunnel down below that was like all rock and stuff. That one was super rad. I mean, they both were rad, but I enjoyed the rock one just because it was like cool and kind of decorated. But I definitely watched a lot of that. That was really fun. I enjoyed that, and of course, I got to watch the Pig Bay. I think that was kind of the piece de la resistance, like what everyone kind of went there for. But yeah, I honestly, the most fun I had was just running around talking to everybody. That was pretty choice. There was some really cool characters there. Stay tuned, patrons. There'll be a talk I had with a hunter who started hunting at 60 years old. She's now 71, still lively as ever, scurrying around. And Doreen, you rock. Thanks for talking to me. I had a great time. And she's hunting nutrias and all kinds of stuff with her terriers. Started at 60. So it's never too late to enjoy the lifestyle of hunting with dogs. There's a lot of cool characters there. So yeah, I had a great time. And we'll get to the Pig Bay because that was kind of the crowning moment. And I had some thoughts about all those competitions. And I guess we'll probably flesh that out as we move along. But I'm sure, Chad, you had a way different experience than me because you're in it to win it, man. You're the hero of the hour. So tell me what you thought, man.
It's something I wanted to throw in on the tunnels because they have, there's all types of earth dog events, and it's all what your flavor is, I know they have AKC shows that do this or that, and there's all kinds of stuff, but I want to make sure everybody knows there's a variety of tunnel systems that was there. One of them, the one we called the Thunder Tunnel, had a clear plexiglass wall, and that was a little bit larger than normal, but it up and down and all these turns and, obstacles and, there's like a section where there's a bunch of ropes tied down through it and they're having to fight through it and then up and down, whatever, pinch points and stuff. And that's cool. And you can kind of guide your dog through it because it's lit up. And that's kind of,
that was so rad.
It's feature dog. But then the earth tunnel, the other tunnel, that's dark, and there's all kinds of transitions from, natural rock earth down to pinch points with like a pipe, PVC pipes where it's protruding through. So they could actually get around the pipe and try and wedge through a crack, and they have to back up and actually find the entrance. And then there's dead ends, like some of the dead end trails are like 15 feet off the main, the main pipe, the main tunnel.
Wow.
That I believe isn't found in a lot of other, Terrier events, so that's one of the things that makes it unique about that one is it's, tunnel systems and testing in general and trials and stuff are, you try and make them as close to the real thing as possible. And as far as I know, as far as like an actual legitimate test or trial, that's the closest to a natural earth set that we have here in the US. Some guys might do something on their own, that I don't know about, but like big and established and, publicized events, that's the most natural. So I didn't want to get past that. That's really cool. But I had a blast. My dogs can kind of sometimes act up there. That I like a little bit nastier dog than a lot of other people. So if they generally mess up and end up catching out in the bay pen, I don't quite get I don't quite get the points for baying the way everybody else does. Mine kind of run in there and grab a hold of it. So I often get to.
Well, explain. You did a real good job explaining to me what a perfect bay was, Chad, for point systems and stuff like that.
The best way is they almost hypnotize the pig. It can almost look anticlimactic, when the dog rushes in, and, some of the people that have been doing it for a while will hold on to their dog and let the pig comes in like a bull in a china closet running around, and eventually they kind of settle. And then you wait for the hog to kind of look your way and you can send your dog. And ideally the dog will run in, get up close enough to him and sit there and bark and just keep barking, almost like a metronome, just tap, 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 tap. And if he goes to look away, it'll apply a little bit of pressure, just enough pressure to say, nope, look at me. Look back at me. Don't look over there. Keep looking at me. Just keep looking at me. And if the hog's bayed and the dog reaches out and pops it on the nose, that's points off. That's bad. That hog was bayed. Leave it alone. It's home. They're supposed to ease in and just hypnotize them. Just keep looking at me. Don't worry about the other dogs coming. Yeah, you hear my handler, my fat handler with 30 dog leashes on him waddling through the bushes. Don't mind him. Look at me. Just keep looking at me. And that's what it's supposed to simulate. So a good bay, sometimes the hog won't even take a step because the dog is applying just enough pressure to keep that hog focused on the dog and nothing else, but not so hard to make him move, and that's the ticket, and you get really good hogs or bad hogs, depending on your dog and the way you like to run them, that'll come out and settle into a bay, and just get into a corner or a comfortable spot, and the dog will just bark, 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 and you start with a full points. And you just lose points every time your dog looks out or turns away, or when the dog rushes them. The really good dogs will look back over their shoulder, and keep eyes on the hogs. And one step ahead, you can tell once you've seen enough of them, the dog will actually look the pig in the eyes, like while it's running away, so it's looking over its shoulder, running as fast as it can, and it's looking in the hog's eyes, like keep looking at me. Don't, calm down. And they'll circle out. So some dogs will run straight away, and the hog can get up to its top speed in 3 strides. There's some debates on that, but really quick, So the good dogs will circle while keeping their eyes. They'll look back over their shoulder, trying to look the hog right in the eyes and bark at it. And as soon as that hog stops, he'll turn back to it without taking his eyes off and settle right back into that bay, And if he breaks past him, then they'll nip him in the butt just to get him to turn and protect his soft skin, turn back around. And as soon as that hog stops and turns, they back up. So you want hard dogs on the hind end, but as soon as that hog stops, let go. Don't nip him anymore and back up. So you want him glued to the hog's butt when he runs, and then almost, some people like 5 feet, 10 feet back. Just easy does it. So I don't know. I hope I didn't beat it.
No, that was a great description. I didn't hear that, so that was the original time I heard that, and yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah. So when I got into it in the very beginning, I'd been hunting hogs for years, and sometimes you don't even know what's going on way out there, I just know I'm catching pigs. So they're doing it fine,
There was a fella sitting next to me. There was a fella sitting next to me that was like, it's almost like they're herding the pig, like HERD, herding it. Their job is to give it the eye and obviously use voice to, like you were saying, Chad, just control it without putting teeth upon the animal. And controlling with their voice, and I like the idea of kind of hypnotizing it. That's pretty clever. Right. But it's just enough pressure to stay focused on me. Don't worry about the other dogs coming. That bulldog coming, don't ignore him. Keep looking at me. Look at me in the eyes. I'm enough of a threat for you to pay attention to and not turn your back to me. But that's it. You almost want everyone wants a hard bay dog, but sometimes your softer dogs are the best because they allow the hog to almost punk them a little bit. Oh yeah, you're scary. You're big and intimidating. I'm not going to try and bite you, but don't turn away or I'm going to bite you in the butt. And so that's, the hard dogs or the in and out gritty dogs. Sometimes they'll get in there and they'll bark and their tongue will touch the hog's face. And that guy's not going to stay there. He's going to move. He's going to run. You may have less vet bills too with a softer bay dog.
Oh yeah. Because, like I said, 2 strides, they're going as fast as they can, which is slower than a dog, but a dog takes a little more time to get going to their top speed. So, from flat-footed standing still, a hog will dust an any kind of dog every single time, unless they know to circle. And there's videos of that you can find online of a dog named Goose that participates in like the Uncle Earl's Bay Trials down in Louisiana every year, and he's won it so many stinking times, you know. And I don't know the handler, but I just know of the dog.
I saw some Goose posters. Yeah.
Oh God, he's like dancing, you know. He'll be right in that hog's face, and it'll rush him, and he'll just like drop back with his back leg and turn his body, almost like a matador, 100% like a matador, like the bullfights, and like it'll let him run by it, pop him on the butt, and turn him right back. It's like magic watching it. So,
Chris, you're muted, brother.
My dogs don't do that well at it. Mine kind of run in there and mess things up.
Yeah, now I'm not muted. I have to mute myself to keep from interrupting people. And then I forget yeah. So how applicable, I mean, in real hunting situations are bay competitions? Or how realistic is it? How did they get established? Why are we still doing it? And let's start I want to start with the disqualifiers, because we don't need a bunch of haters headed to try to shut this down, because the disqualifier is what?
There's a bunch, but like specifically catching. Catch dogs aren't allowed, Bulldogs that run in there and grab a hold of it that aren't trying to bay it is not allowed. Sometimes, rarely, dogs will catch. And they're given a time that they need to let go. And if they don't, they're out. They're out, disqualified. That is not what they're here. You don't even get a score. You get a 0, disqualified. And that's standard. The bay trials that are involved with the Terrier event and otherwise. There's a lot of bay trials that don't even have a Terrier in them. The majority wouldn't, but
right.
That's the first thing. They are not catch dog tournaments. The dogs are not trained to grab the pig and hold on to it. They're trained to hurt it. Just the same as like a collie. It's going to pressure sheep around. And if the sheep come out and charge him, he may give them a nip, to get some respect and pressure them around the field. But that's what it's about. The way to manipulate the animal, not to bite it and chew on it, So that's one of the main things. There's also
that's something that I wanted to talk about, because I think there's some psychology going on there. That pig knows that he is a prey animal. He may be bigger and he may be stronger, but he knows he's a prey animal. Deep down inside, that lizard brain is telling him that he's a prey animal. And your dog, regardless if they're bred this way, whether they're one of Rigo's dogs or one of these terriers, they're predators. And so the psychology there is to not necessarily catch the pig. It's to convince that pig that I can catch you if I want to, so don't make a move.
Or I'm just intimidating enough that you better respect me, and my presence, my body language, my vocalizations are intimidating enough to make you think twice.
My body language, everything that bay dog is doing when it goes in there, or natural hog dog, everything they do is playing mind games with this animal that's wired to be a prey animal.
And that's what I was trying to say earlier, and I think you helped me pick my words a little bit better that time. So they'll pressure them, what the bay is supposed to be is, I'm gonna pressure this pig to the point where he's going to turn and challenge me. I'm a dog. He's going to challenge me. And then I'm going to give ground. Yeah, you're scary. Yeah, tough guy. Don't worry about it. I'm intimidated by you. And when the hog tries to turn around again, they stop, they're peppering his butt. And then as soon as the hog turns back around again. So it's like the dog's job to pressure him if he tries to run, but then give ground the second the hog turns back around, and like, oh yeah, as long as you fight, without, you don't want the dog and the hog fighting, but to the hog, the dog is trying to convince them that the safest thing for you is to turn and look at me, and just stand there and protect your
Well, it's also like a really natural way for canids to hunt, because that's how like all wild canines hunt, minus the voice. I think dogs get an extra advantage by throwing in that deafening voice that is even more disorienting and controlling to a prey animal. Imagine, like when wolves are circling a moose or a bison, this large, powerful animal, they aren't They're just like a bay dog, except they're not giving any voice. They're predating in a different way, right? But their body language is still the same. They're circling, they're moving, they're nipping at the back end. They're keeping the animal occupied in the front as a team. And so I think catch dogs I find fascinating only because their mentality, their physiology is so wildly different than a wild canid. And so I like the bay. I really enjoyed the idea of the bay pen and watching the dogs bay for that exact reason. It felt like there's a lot of technique involved and a lot of strategy, bravery, but just the right amount of fear on the dog's behalf. I don't even know if fear is the right word, respect, that it's like chess. You're using your body and your voice to make yourself bigger, stronger, and control this like pretty powerful animal just with your voice and body language. Yeah.
There's so much body language that we as people, because we can communicate vocally, and there's so much body language that we take for granted that the animal world does not. You know, they understand way more about the way something moves or its predators move or even challenged among species and we miss a lot of it.
You ever been deer hunting and like we talked about this, Chris, but it's been talked about in many variations. You're a ranch worker, or you're an outdoor worker. You walk by a herd of deer eating in grazing in a field 100 times, and they don't care at all. But the second you put on camo, the second you start acting kind of shifty and start stalking or watching them with eye contact too much, boom, they take off, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Animals know when you're acting predatory and you have that assertive body language. And I agree with that. They definitely are cued into that a lot more than we are.
Yeah.
But then imagine how much more adding the dog's bark on top of all that, it really gives a dog probably an incredible edge in that moment, especially hounds.
Selective breeding.
Oh yeah.
Selective breeding, man.
A lot, especially the hogs don't really have good eyes to begin with. You know, I mean, their eyes, you know, we've been through that talk. Yeah. You know, you have dropping all kinds of eyeball knowledge on us, you know, but you know, pigs have horrible eyes.
Yeah, it's because they're so ugly.
That voice, all that voice right in their face helps keep them keyed in. Yeah, look at me, I'm still here.
Yep.
You know, and that's one of the things I kind of like about the terriers, because they're like little bumblebees. They're always left, right, up, down. It looks like popping corn. They're always jumping all over the place. And then with that high pitch, you know, like I got hounds, I got terriers. You know, I got too many dogs to be honest. But the hounds bark is beautiful. Terriers, I like to compare it to like banging pots and pans.
Yeah,
like,
that took me some time to get used to. Tuff's voice, Chris, is horrible. Oh my gosh,
it is, isn't it? Yeah,
it sounds like I've always tried to come up with like a combination. It's like your toddler banging like a metal spoon on the bottom of a big old pot while your belt is slipping and a fax machine's going off. Like that's kind of like what a terrier bay is, you know, like all at the same time.
I thought it was more like like nails running across a chalkboard with a megaphone right next to it. Just like
that would be a good addition. That would be a good addition. The screaming.
Right?
Was
that's right. It wasn't just the barking. It's the screaming.
A lot of people missed out on that.
Well, I want to talk about, I also want to talk about, I'm calling Seth out here a little bit because we had this discussion about the effectiveness of terriers being hog dogs. And Chad, you are the person to talk about this. So I'm just going to hand it off to you. So, Seth, I'm going to give this is a spinoff from. We're not going to talk about hares being superior life forms, but we are going to talk about terriers. I'm not going to give that up, man. We're going to talk about terriers being can be very good hog dogs. Chad, Seth, you
state my case. Okay. Well, I thought about this a lot today because I figured this was going to come up. So first off, I'm going to say,
oh, you got tipped off.
I knew this was going to happen. You were too into this conversation. All right, so here we go. Okay. I want to make a full disclosure right now. I am not saying that terriers are not pig dogs. What I am saying is I felt there's...
You did.
Superfluously, yes. But pro nuance, no. So, okay, listen. So here's my thing. I just felt that there's a lot to be desired And I felt that the presence of the animal, speaking of that body language, speaking of that presence, has a lot to be desired. And I feel like there are breeds that are better for the task. And that all I felt is that it was a tool in the versatile dog breeds list, but to call a Yag a true pig dog to me felt a little contrived, only because I feel like they're just not the best dog for that. And Chad, we've already kind of talked about this a little bit, and I think you yourself said that, but I just thought that like the crowning moment of the trials being the pig bay was a little weird, because I thought, and again, this is nothing against terriers. I was talking to a terrier hunter there, and he was hunting pigs with his terriers, and his terriers got attacked by coyotes and like dispersed off the trail. And I was like, and he's like, yeah, that's a real problem. And I was like, well, like, get hounds? Like that was the first thing I thought. It was like mountain curs, blackmouth curs. Like, I just feel that their presence as a tiny little guy, I don't know. It just didn't. And again, this is not me saying they're terrible. I'm just saying I feel like there's better options out there.
I got responses.
Don't be
all of it.
All right. Yeah. So we're going to introduce the Fistful of Dollars music here. Wow. We're all standing around. Three of us are standing around looking at each other.
So there's
eyes batting back and forth.
There's a lot of things there, that I'm going to try and reply to all of them. To start, one, the Yag Terrier was created with pigs in mind, 100%. Like when the people bred and created a Yag Terrier, it was for hog hunting in Europe, in Germany. Like that is 100% one of the things it was supposed to do. Now they hunt differently over there. They love to drive them to gun. That's one of their favorite things to do. So like one of the things they'll do is turn loose of a pack of these little rascals, and the hog will go into these overgrown, reedy, built-up areas that you cannot get into, like without crawling on your hands and knees with a machete or a chainsaw, and you cannot get in there. Bigger dogs cannot get in there, but the hogs run through it. The widest part on a hog is its head, and their nose tapers down to a little point, so they can hit a wad. Think if you took a mile with a barbed wire and just walled it all the way up in a ball, a hog can like right through that. They slide right through it. If their nose goes through, there's nothing to get hung up on. Their ears fold back, their legs are tiny, their butt's shorter than their shoulders. And they're going with all that torque. You can't stop a pig when it's wanting to push forward. Like that's something there. So anyway, when it's in there, one of the things they do is they turn loose of 5 Yag Terriers. I don't care what animal you are. You could have a silverback gorilla, a tiger, a lion, freaking all tied together. And if 5 terriers go meet you in a bush, you're coming out. You are coming out. It's like being trapped in a mop closet with a bunch of bumblebees. You ain't going to hit anything. You're going to beat your arms against the walls, and you know what I'm saying? You're coming out of the
It's like trying to kick a chihuahua.
Fair point. I'm going to make this clear right now, right off the bat.
No. I'm moderating here. He's going to finish his thought.
I have a small rebuttal.
Okay.
November is the month for hunters. It's going on everywhere. Seth's running jackrabbits. Chad's out there hunting birds and with his falcons and his draughts and getting ready for lion season. And if lion season's not in where you're at, it's going to be coming soon. Bear seasons are getting ready to kick off and gear up. It's a great time, November. I love it. Right now at Cajun Lights, you can go to their website at CajunLights.com, and you can fill up that cart with $150 worth of merchandise. If you are one of our Patreon supporters, one of the chosen few, the rare breed that has stepped up and said, hey, we support this lifestyle and we will defend it, then you're going to get 10% off because you've been sent a special code for 10% off of your purchase at Cajun Lights. We're also going to throw in one of our new leather patch caps, Houndsman XP leather patch caps. And this offer is good to our patrons only, which is a good time to tell you why you should be involved in Patreon. Not only are you going to get deals like this, there are several other places, I'd say over a half a dozen. I'd have to check with Seth on our current load of discount codes, but we're talking deeper discounts. 25% off codes, up to 25% off at Dogs Are Treed. We've got stuff going on at Rough Cut. We've got, the list goes on and on. I'm not even going to recall it all. If you're a patron, Other cool stuff you're going to get from Patreon. You're going to get a membership to the Sportsman's Alliance. And that's the part where we're standing up and saying we've been pushed far enough. We're not going to be stripped of any more freedoms. And Sportsman's Alliance and their partnership with Houndsman XP is helping us accomplish that. You can find out all the information you need by going to houndsmanxp.com and clicking on the support tab. It'll take you into our Patreon page, and you can join us there and other patriotic, like-minded houndsmen who are willing to step up and stand in the gap for our freedom. So join us on Patreon. Go to houndsmanxp.com. You'll see our sponsors there. You can get a link right to our shop, our Redbubble shop, where we're dropping all kinds of cool designs. Check us out at houndsmanxp.com. Hope to see you joining us on Patreon today. Briar Creek Kennels is your complete hound hunting outfitter. Boots, lights, collars, and tracking equipment. Dog boxes, kennel supplies, collars, clothes, squallers. Whew, they have it all. Briar Creek Kennel is a Garmin and Dogtra dealer. Owner Chris Girth will ensure Briar Creek Kennel customers will get top-of-the-industry customer service. Whether you purchase from their website or you find them at a major coonhound event, Chris and his staff will share expert knowledge and experience about every product they offer. Chris Girth is a top competitor and breeder of hounds. He knows what gear you need to be successful. Look for Briar Creek Kennels on the web for a complete online store, or look at their fully stocked trailer at any major coonhound event. Briar Creek Kennels, offering a hound hunting public generations of excellence.
And then that's what they do. And they give voice. They're supposed to give voice on track and trail, so that, like, again, pots and pans. So if 2 miles away, 3 miles away, there's, these terriers are starting to pressure a sounder of hogs in an overgrown thicket, like a big breedy area that you can't get into. They push them out. And then, like I said, 5 of them, you hear them coming. Hey, Bob, get your gun. Everybody all right? You can hear them coming from a long way off. And then it goes on by, boom, you shoot it. All right. So that's how they were bred, originally to hunt hogs. So first thing is they were created to be a hog dog. They were just a different type of hog dog. The next thing, we don't really hunt with them that way here. We like to, traditionally, our areas are more overgrown than a lot of one, our country is huge compared to Germany. Germany is beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and there's a lot of things about it that are super unique. Their forests there are great, but we have all these different landscapes. So there's places you hunt hogs in Oklahoma. There's places you hunt hogs in South Florida. There's places you hunt hogs in Louisiana, Texas, and they're all different. And I would 100% say that different styles are more successful in different regions. But where hogs, a lot of the hog hunting got started, I'm not going to say got started, where a lot of it's the notoriety from the Southeast, where things are highly overgrown, and you can get it done with a blackmouth cur, old yeller, blackmouth cur, that's, that's one of the ways. The plantation dog, the all around type of stock dog, moving cows. All right, now we're going to go get that pig, that one dog, cows loose in the, out in the thicket. We're going to round them back up, and they can do it fine. And then that is the classic hog dog is, some cur dogs, Catahoula's or blackmouth curs or what have you. I don't want to list everything, but your cur dogs are your typical, like two or three bay dogs and a bulldog. And that's just the way it happens. One of the most efficient, clean hog hunts I've ever seen in my entire life was going in Texas, East Texas, and then over into Louisiana. And this guy had 3 bay dogs. He'd turn them loose. He bayed up like 50 pigs, and he had his bulldog on a very short leash that it was slack. My daughter could have held it with 3 fingers. And we walked around this big sounder of hogs, And he goes, we're going to look for the biggest one, And I was just like, this is awesome. I had grown up hunting hogs, but this is really cool. So we're walking around it, and his dogs are balling them up. They got them all in a big wad. And the males, the big dominant males will come out, and that's something that I'm gonna branch off just for a second. You can see it really cool when you catch a bunch of hogs and you put them in a pen. I've always thought this was one of the most unique things about pigs I've ever seen. So I would catch large hogs, and then when it was legal, I would sell them to the trophy hunt ranches where businessmen would come in and go on these guided hunts in the fenced-in area and shoot them. So I would trap them, put them in a pen, wait till I had enough, and then take them to the high fence. When it was legal to transport live hogs. And something I noticed, the biggest pig would be dominant, and then there'd be like 10 submissive, so to speak, hogs in there. And whenever I'd go into feed or clean or anything like that, the dominant hog would come out and put himself in between me and the sounder, his group, And what was super cool about this is I could go get another big pig, a bigger pig. Sometimes it was smaller, but generally the bigger one, I'd throw him in there. They'd have a fight. It would take like 10 seconds, to see who's in charge. You'd think it'd be this long, drawn-out fight. And during mating season, they might fight more. But for dominance in a setting like that, 10 seconds, bah, 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 a bunch of noise, and the rank structure was all changed up. And then I would go back into that pen the very next day, and that hog that came out and put himself in between me and the pigs is now a sissy in the group. And that new dominant hog is out in front of me protecting his sounder. Now, I had somebody come by that wanted to buy that big pig, right? So the big pig's out the very next day. That pig that was dominant became sissy. Now he's in charge again. Is that duty? What is that? What
opportunity?
Because like it would within a, the dominant hog would be protecting his group or whatever. I don't like to speculate, but the behavior was he would put 10 feet in between his group and come closer to me and stand in the way.
Opportunity.
And I could still press.
I say opportunity.
Wrong. But then 3 days later, I put a bigger pig in there. Now he's a sissy in the group, and that big pig's out in front of me. I put that big pig, that sissy pig came back out. Now he's back in charge again. So anyway, that's what the behavior. I thought that was really cool. We could talk about that later. But that's what he was doing when he would walk around. He was trying to walk around and make sure that big pig, wherever it was, in there, saw him. And they know these rascal dogs are here because of you tall shaved monkey. Like you're the reason all the dogs are here. And eventually that big pig would come out and he'd send his bulldog and he'd go right to the biggest pig and catch it. And then the sounder would break away and they'd go bray it up there. We'd tie that pig and leave it right there and go get another one if we wanted to. And then we'd walk over there and he'd go, yeah, there's no other big ones in there. And he'd go, hey, let's go. And all those 3 dogs would just pull right off the sounder. And it's like a natural resource. Like you just leave them, and they'll keep growing, and we'll come back and take 1 or 2 off of it. And they were like all his.
All right, so how are you using that story to
That's
justify
what I was going to ask.
The Jagd-Terrier?
Okay, sorry.
The Jagd-Terrier.
Yep. Because you said he had live hounds, and I was like,
I do. So that's awesome. That's a very classic way to do it. Now, where I hunted in Louisiana, all right, it's all pine plantation, all of it. Like all of northern Louisiana is basically pine plantation, at various degrees of growth. When it's really tall, it's like a corn row and there's next to nothing in it, because it's, the canopy up top keeps anything from growing below. It's all pine needles below. There's no vegetation to eat. If you don't need a pine cone in there, you ain't eating pretty much. Hogs can kind of go through there and root it up, but they aren't living in there. They aren't staying in there. They like to go over to the 6 foot to 10 foot tall cutovers, so they do a first cut and then they plant everything and it comes up, and once it gets to a certain height they spray it, knocks down all the weeds again. In that, there isn't those big black. I'm not saying they can't do it, but they do not perform as well as a Jagd-Terrier in there. They can't. We're back to the overgrown thickets, and a 60-pound dog cannot move through it as fast as a Jagd-Terrier. Not even close. Not even a little bit. Not half as fast. Period. And then even if they do get through half as fast, their face is mutilated. All the underneath their eyeballs, their nose, from all the briars.
It's probably more dangerous for those bigger dogs too.
What's that?
I said it's probably more dangerous for the bigger dogs too because they can't maneuver in that thick stuff.
They can't do anything. So the fact that the Germans bred these things to get them out of that exact environment allows them to maneuver in there. And they're faster than the pigs. They move through it like a fish through reeds. Like almost like cattails, where like official snake out of it with no friction at all. That's how the Terriers move through those things, And the other big thing that they do is they are, just like you said, they're small, right? Those big dogs, 5 or 6 big bay dogs, if it's on like 100-pound pig, that's far more intimidating. Yeah. And it can press them to run. Now, let me clarify. A good bay dog won't pressure them to do that. But them tiny little Terriers aren't as intimidating with their physical stature as a 60 or 70-pound blackmouth cur. The 2 little Terriers up in front of them, they're like, what is this little thing? So in ways, those little Terriers can get them and then they turn around and like the 15-pound animal grabs a hold of its male parts, and I don't care how tough you are, 15-pound animal on your boys there, you're going to stop doing whatever it is you're doing, and turn around and pay attention, So all of these things combined allow them to fill niches that some of the, I would say, more traditional and practical dogs like the cur dogs, can't do quite as well. They have the nose. They have a nose just as good as any cur. In my opinion, they trail just as well. They have the exact same endurance. They're tiny, but they run on hate. I don't know how it is, but they have the endurance.
They run on hate.
Yeah. A lot of folks that haven't seen them run are going to wonder how you make ends meet on that, but it's a fact. Go out with some people with some Terriers. They will run just as hard and just as long. And in the openings, your big dogs dust them. I'm not going to lie. They do. A 60-pound cur is going to leave a Terrier in the dust out on the open. But once you get back into the thick stuff, the roles are reversed. Those little Terriers move through the bushes twice as fast. Where the big dog will run around, but that little dog goes right through it. If the pig can go, the Terrier can go too. Whereas a blackmouth cannot go everywhere the Terrier can.
We need a timer. Where I could push the timer and be like, ding.
There's one right there.
Sorry.
All right, Seth, okay. Go ahead.
I didn't give enough caveats when I started, but to Chad's.
Oh, my. Yes, you did.
To Chad's point.
Go ahead.
Long, but noted and fully accepted. Because I will say you need to breed for your terrain. And when you put it in that context, I accept and fully agree. So, Chad, I will bow down. Now, that being said, I was thinking more of the traditional kind of thing, like the swamp action or like more open forest. It's hard for me to imagine ultra thick forests like that. Just because I live in super beautiful open forests that you can like have a gleeful skip through always. But
where I grew up,
what's that called?
I could almost never see more than 30 feet in front of me.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. That's again, there's hog hunting's done all across, but like when people think pig dogs, more often than not, they're thinking the southeast, and that's how most of it is. You can't see 50 feet, like where the hogs are living, and because of that, that's, I like run and catch dogs. I like a lot of different things, and those are great, but like for getting in there and getting them out, like one of my best dogs, Bea, Bea, she's old now. She's like 14 years old, blind and deaf and everything, but they used to joke about her being a throwback to the old German system because sometimes she would mess things up. Most Terriers were great. They'd bay and they'd sit back and bay all day, and then they'd, throttle a raccoon, but bay a pig real nice. And then Bea sometimes would like go, yeah, this is a great bay. All right, I'm going to mosey all the way around behind this big thicket and crawl on her belly right up behind the pig and bite it on the butt and break a bay, so sometimes that happens, where the original genetics were to get them out of there. Whereas now we're like, no, now keep them there, so our breedings have changed that a little bit. But in the wide open, in the plains country, they're kind of, like you can use them, but as a specialist for pigs, they might not. Now, I personally like a bigger dog. A bigger jagdterrier. Mine, I have some that are in standard and I have some that are out of standard. But my bigger ones, aren't going to be as fast as the larger dogs, but they're going to grab a hold of it like.
But why would you want that?
Bulldog.
Why would you want a jag to grab a pig? Dude, look, I'm not saying I'm the toughest guy in the world, right? But like if another man your size ran up and grabbed me, I would be like, dang, this sucks. But like if a middle schooler with a pocket knife ran up and stuck me, I'd be like, oh, you punk. And I would be your next taxidermy in your living room. You know what I mean? So
it's a different animal. Okay, I got a great response to that. I'm glad you're asking me these questions too, because these are good questions. It's a pig, for one. If it was a bear or a lion or a coyote or another animal that grabs a hold, pulls it in, and then chews it, that's going to do. But the hogs, they fight with their tusks. They rut, they throw, they do all these things. And hogs are incredibly strong in certain areas. If you let them, like if you lay one down and you let the hog get that leg underneath him, he's going to stand up with me, you, Heath, Chris, all of they'll bench press all of us straight up and then take off walking with us. They're incredibly strong. Keep a hold of that bottom leg. But a terrier specifically, I don't know if you saw at all, some of the dogs that lean towards the catchy side like to get into that soft skin right behind the armpit. Mm-hmm. And my dogs, for example, will go in there, grab that. They don't grab the ear like a bulldog. They grab the soft skin on the jowl or right behind the arm, and they'll catch that, and they'll tuck themselves up under the pig. And it'd be like you in a Michelin suit with one of my little terriers on it. You're going to spin around. Yeah, you're going to throw the dog. But you can't, what's another good example? You take a sheet of paper, you hold the sheet of paper up in front of you, and just with one hand, so it's dangling there. Okay. And you take a pocket knife, the paper moves, right? It's light. It moves out of the way of the blade. The paper doesn't give enough resistance for the blade to stick into it. Now, I'm not saying terriers can't be cut, but if you take a 60-pound dog, or let's just say a watermelon, and I have a watermelon in my hand or a cantaloupe, and I press it with the blade's going to go right in. There's enough resistance to it. The blade goes in there. So a lot of times, my terriers rarely get a mark on them. Yeah. They get hit, they fly 30 feet, they land on the ground, they're right back in, and they don't pin the hog to the ground. But if two of my 30-pound Jagd terriers, grab a hold of a pig, it's going to be caught, in a sense, in like 100 square feet. It's not leaving that. It's there. It's loud. It's noisy. We know where the pigs are, and that pig might be able to flick one off for a second. But terriers are quick, not fast. The same way a snake
agile
can't travel that fast. It can strike short distance. So if the hog throws the terrier, he lands 5 feet, he's going to turn around. That terrier is going to be right back on him again.
So are you walking up? Are you approaching the hog with your two terriers caught, or are you sending a larger dog to subdue the animal?
The way I hunt now, most of the terrier people don't hunt the way I do, but yes, I hunt two terriers on the ground. They will track it, trail it. They'll bark when they get into odor right off the bat. When they fall into the odor, they'll strike, type, and they'll generally be quiet as they go down it. When they get to the hog, because they're quiet, they'll catch it in its bed most of the time. Like most of the time when I caught it was catch pigs, you'd catch it, we'd get it tied and look around. The bed's somewhere right around here. There'd be this big depression where they woke him up with two little bumblebees jumping on his head. And again, the hog starts trying to fight him off, and he can. He can't run away. We talk about the hog running away with some Jagd Terrier earrings, like they're little dogs, and they can pick them up and run with them, but they don't run miles. And if they do, you got a tracking system on the pig now. Yeah. Because the dog's hanging from them. But most of the time, the hog is just going to spin around and try to fight these little, like you're trapped in a mop closet with like 5 or 6 parents. If you get one, you're going to splat it against the wall, but you're not, and you got a sledgehammer. You're just going to beat holes in the wall and make a whole bunch of noise, and they're going to sting the heck out of you. And before you know it,
let's get back to the original question. Are you sending in a catch dog?
What's that?
Are you sending in a catch dog?
It all depends. I used to like to do it without, but I have catch dogs. I like to have running catch dogs. I had, bulldogs. Those are fantastic. My running catch dogs, I used to do Malinois and Malinois crosses with bulldogs. I've hunted with a lot of folks that have sighthounds, that had sighthound crosses into them. I've used bull mastiff. I've used just about everything. I mean, we are spoiled in the United States. You can go to I did that. I've done it. I got a picture I'll post to the social media page of a red dog that I picked up, and from the pound, he was castrated. He was an 8-week-old puppy. He was like part French bulldog and part pit bull. I just to prove it, I could go in there. All right, I'm going to take that one. Went out and started catching pigs with him in no time. You can pick any knuckleheaded breed in the pound and go catch pigs. Like in other countries, they don't have that. Not everybody needs that, but most of us in the States take that for granted. We have incredible catch dogs. We have the best catch dogs on the planet. I said it right here. Chad Reynolds says the American bulldog, pit bulls, whatever, are the best catch dogs on the.
Okay, so here's my thing. I'm going to say this. Okay, so I get what you're saying about the terrier being able to grab the pig and get under and tucked in and not get hurt and hold the pig steady while it's like running around. Got it. Cool. What else works?
Like 50 square.
What else works good for not getting cut is armor. And I'm just saying right off the bat, and again, guys, I'm just making a fun debate here. I'm not drawing my hand or my line in the sand. I'm going to fight to the death on this. But here's the thing. I feel way safer approaching a pig that has been caught by a 145-pound werewolf wearing armor than I do with two little bumblebees stabbing him in the armpit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want a monster beast of a hound holding this thing so that I can approach it without feeling like this thing's going to shake off these little kids with knives and come kill me. You know what I'm saying? Chris, back me up here.
Well, I'm not sure I can, because I think anything that doesn't have running hound or long dog or stag blood in
that's
it,
not true.
But
that's false. 100%. I'm just saying I am fearful of approaching large hogs unless it is securely held by a powerful animal. It does not have to be a sighthound. That's all I've ever seen, but that does not mean that I wouldn't be okay with like an American bulldog holding on to it. I'm just saying.
Man, I'm telling you what, some of the best I've seen, some bulldogs, pit bull crosses that were, man, they were just warriors. And you send in the dogo and they get flipped off, but the pit bull's there.
Beasts.
I mean, they're there, and they're weighing half of that 140-pound werewolf. You know, it's anything over 250. I like having two bulldogs on it. And I'm not gonna lie, I do. I like one hanging off of each ear, but one bulldog that knows its job is totally capable. I
want to ask you about the running catch dogs, Chris, but Chad, wrap it up, brother.
Yeah. So I did. We caught them. Me and my buddies growing up, we would catch them. We had blackmouth curs, and they would bay it up, and that was the true test. If you wanted bragging rights, you'd bay the pig, and you'd go catch it by hand. And what you could do is sneak around behind it, get up next to a tree, reach out and grab the back leg without a dog even caught on it. Now, I wouldn't recommend that for everybody, but that's something me and my buddies did as kids all the time,
crazy, Chad.
without a dog. What's that?
I said we're not all crazy.
Well, yeah, I'm not the only one. I like, honestly, I'm sure there's plenty of listeners that have done that too. So that's not like patting myself on the back. Redneck childhood, man. That's what a bunch of us.
Atypical hog hunter right there.
I'm not patting myself on the back so much there. I'm just saying I'm one of many that would do well.
Yeah, that's right.
But
you're not atypical. You're typical.
There you go. So with the terrier, the terriers help out a little bit more. But even then, most of the time would have a big meathead breed. A dogo, a pit bull, some kind of catchy cross. One of my favorites was a Malinois pit bull cross. I love my dogo too. The pit bulls are always, you forget about them things. They were so reliable. Turn it loose. If it got there, it was going to be caught.
Well, I know, but at what point do you get? Okay, so if you're a deer hunter, if you're a bow hunter, you start out shooting the compound bow, and you got the sights, and you got the stabilizer, and you got all this stuff, and then you start dropping off. Natural hunter progression. I can speak for myself. It's like I started out there, and now I'm shooting a trad bow with split turkey wing feathers,
flintlock.
Trying to do it traditional. So has it just become a deal? My question is, when we start getting into the jagdterriers, trying to hunt them in American style, did you get bored with catching pigs the traditional way, or the most accepted way, and be like, well, I think I can catch a pig with a freaking chihuahua and a lab cross? I
wanted versatile, and the mouse curs are versatile, but I had a bunch of raccoons that I wanted to get into. And the blood trailing with them is neat, and they tree pretty stinking well, and they filled a niche. A lot of times they I had a lot of thick cover. That's
for me, seeing both sides and hunting, I'm not sold on the jagdterrier thing yet. Obviously I've got one, I don't think he's hard enough. But the hound side of it, it's understanding how pigs act and how they react to dog pressure and different things like that is far more important. And having a dog that can perform and manipulate that activity to stop the pig is far more important than what particular breed you're going to hunt with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you've got one of the best bay dogs I ever saw, and I hate to say this because Josh Michaelis is going to wear me out about it, but it was a walker dog. That dog could get in there and stop a pig, and he was impressive. But he had the heart to do it. I like all of it, but that was my point.
To wrap up my last little spot there a little bit, you know, like where I grew up was hunting the orange fields in Florida, you know, and the cattle plantations, and there's always these thick areas, and that's where the hogs would bed up and come out of there. And a lot of it, we had a bunch of property, but not all of it. And I didn't have very good means of transportation. You know, I didn't have all the rigs and everything I have now. So that's one of the reasons I you know, when I got beat, it was because they got ran off and I had to call them back because I didn't have the range, or I didn't have a way to get to them, so I had to call them back, or I had to do all these different things. So, I mean, shutting it down quick has always been a desire of mine, a way I like to hunt, and everybody has their own. So what I liked about the Terriers is I could get to an area that had them, turn two of them loose. You can tell by watching the Garmin or even hear it when you had a catch. As soon as you hear that, I'd let go of my big bulldog, you know, whatever big catch dog I had there, to go in there and shut it down. And the Terriers, but the cool thing about the Terriers is if you had like a 60-pound or two, let's just say, all right, on the inverse, you know, 2 60-pound blackmouth curs, if they're in the tight, thick area, they're going to get chewed up. You know, they're going to get beat up in those overgrown, thick areas. They're probably just going to bay it. And then a lot of times the bulldog starts coming in. He'll break through the backside of the bushes where the curs couldn't go or something like that. But what I liked about the Terriers is they get in there and fight them. And then just like you said, they aren't that intimidating. They aren't a big dog. Well, the hog says that too. They think they can win. I'm going to get these little 30-pound things off me. They're going to start fighting them.
They're trying to kick a chihuahua.
Yeah, exactly. They start trying to fight those things off. And in the meantime, my muscle's on the way, you know, and I'm right behind them, you know. So all they got to do
that
is
makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'm like fully on board
What's
with all that. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just entertain it just a little while, and I'm running. I love to hunt on foot, and I'm running right behind my catch dog, and boom, he's in there. Even if it's in the thick bushes, he'll just lay down like a snake and hold on to something. And I'm crawling in there too to draw them all out. So it works great for shutting them down fast, getting them caught, you know, and there we go. So that's how I hunted mine. Now other people like to take the Terriers and hunt them exactly like.
Yeah, you take a guy like Bubba Allen. You know, we interviewed him some time back. He was doing eradication work, so he wanted to bay a whole sounder, you know, and just pick them off, just bang, 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 doing that eradication stuff. So he was never even running a catch dog. But Seth, go ahead, man. You've been patient.
No, I'm gonna just say fully that the points that Chad laid down, I accept and also agree. So it's all about where you're running. It's all about the terrain you're running in, and just match your style to make you successful to the terrain you're running on. And I fully agree with that. I guess where I was going with that is Yags a fad, or are they actually really good for American pig hunting? And the answer is, whoa, surprise, it's complicated, and it depends on where you are. So fully accept that.
And we live in the land of the free, and you can do what you want.
I still say, I appreciate when extra muscle comes in to handle it. Chris, tell us about your new style of muscle you saw, brother.
What, the staghound?
You saw a stag and a stag plus.
I don't even know what that means, but I saw 2 werewolf-looking things that were big and skinny, wearing vests, and saw them in the back of the truck, and then that's the last time I saw them until they were hanging onto a pig. Okay, so I've thought a lot about that hunt, and I think it goes back to what is your style of hunting. You know, personally, I haven't been able to watch the whole thing on thermal. I'm sure it's cool. I mean, I like watching F-16s or ATM warthogs swoop in and decimate the enemy, point target. But I'm not sold. I'm not sold on it that it's going to be my new venture in life to breed staghound, cross wolfhound, whatever the Bigfoot was. He was impressive. He was fast. He was powerful. He was all these things. But you're looking at catching one hog at a time, and if you're Bubba Allen and you're doing eradication work, and you need to catch a sounder of pigs and get them off the landscape, then that's not the dog you're going to use. And so it was a new experience. I had a lot of fun. I just need more exposure to thoroughly appreciate it and value that.
And your own thermal,
hunting.
so you can actually watch it.
Absolutely, but I'm not spending $5,000 to go watch somebody else's dogs catch a pig.
So on that note, like there was a guy I used to hunt with back in South Texas that ran, wolfhound, sighthound, stag crosses, and everything, and he even had a show. I'm not going to get into any of that. Not a podcast, but it was actually on TV. But one of the ways we were hunting open crop fields in South Texas, and he'd lamp them and then send the dogs out there and catch them. They work great for that. When they're running, there they are. Get them right there, and they're open, and you can keep eyes on them. They are the ticket. There's nothing better at catch that pig that's running away that you're still going to be able to see in a half mile. They got that wrapped up tight, But one of the ways we used them together too was like this really thick area. There was a wetland, and you couldn't drive through it. It was boggy and everything like that. So even for them, sometimes they would get on all sides with their long dog, crosses, their speed dog crosses with the catching breeds. And I'd dump my little terriers in there, and they'd go in there and bay it up, and eventually they're coming out.
That is badass.
And my terriers absolutely dusted, and it was in the daytime where you could see absolutely everything, and they take off like a bolt of lightning, and boom, that one catches that one.
Me too. That is so rad. Like, I want to see that. Yep.
One day we had like 6 of these speedy type catch dogs out there. We got 6 nice hogs, and my little terrier set the table for everybody. It was a great time. We never could have got them out of there. They ain't getting in there to get them out.
No. They're definitely not.
But it worked out. It worked out great. So that's one way. They're perfect. I know the boys over in Australia absolutely love them too, because their country's pretty big and open too.
Those monsters they're only good for the open country. That's very, very clear and apparent. Yeah, and that is
we were driving around thermaling pigs, and you got to be quiet. And if the pig gets in the brush, it's over. You never turn a dog loose. And I'm thinking, I should have brought the plots. I'd have ran that pig out of there, and then you could have caught it. But it was just one of those types of things. And the funniest thing, okay, so. This was crazy, and Rigo did a great job. He only had he's thermaled this pig, and I never actually saw the pig. So now we're just out walking in the dark through a cattle pasture, and I'm trusting that there's a pig out there, and we keep walking. Dogs are very well behaved. I mean,
Rigo had a badass handle.
They're walking at heel the whole time. Rigo's got a great handle on them, and we get to a certain point. He sends the dogs, and you hear the pig, you hear the catch, and everybody takes off running across this field. And I'm like standing around thinking, there isn't anything chasing us. What the hell are we running for?
Michael goes down.
Oh yeah, Michael does a complete end over end in the middle of this field, and that's what I was trying to avoid. Just so you know, I could outrun you all, but I was trying to avoid the injury because I knew that wasn't going to be our last pig race. So it was totally forethinking there on my part. Not that I'm old and fat, but
definitely not.
No. So it was completely different. It was completely different from anything I've done. I can't tell you this, Rigo. has got some outstanding dogs because of the small fields that he's working on. He's got this craft perfected. The way, when a pig gets up and going, that dog has got just a couple 100 yards to close the distance and make that catch before game is over.
Mm-hmm.
And if he, it's amazing.
That's what they're good at. Man.
Yeah, I wanted to give
That's
a big.
What they're great at.
Yeah.
With that fence.
Yeah.
One of the spots we used to hunt with that guy was right next to the King Ranch, and they'll shoot you. Don't cross that fence line. And it was always catch it before it gets right over there, and they were the ticket. And one of their other cool bonuses too is they were clean catchers. Like I love an American Pit Bull Terrier, I love an American Bulldog. I like these things, and they're almost like the UFC fighter, like Vitor Belfort. They're gonna go in there and just left, right. They're just going toe to toe, and I'm gonna punch you harder than you can punch me. Whereas like the Sighthound crosses, they did that same stuff too, where they go shoulder to shoulder, where they'll get a hold of the ear. In my experience, a lot of the Sighthound crosses did this, where they'd catch the ear. They're surgical with catching the ear. They would jump and catch it sometimes, that's all they had in their eyes. And then they would get to where their right shoulder was up against the hog's left shoulder, and they just spin with them, and they'll be out in the middle of a crop field with his Sighthound cross that isn't trying to bulldog it. He's got his ear spinning in a circle with him, and they're just drilling themselves down on the ground. They're really, really clean catchers.
Yeah.
So they don't get cut up that much. They really don't. Whereas the bulldog's going to run right in there and nose to nose. I'm going to beat you with my face until you stop moving, and it's rowdy. And sometimes the littler ones can get thrown so hard that little ear will come off, whereas the clean catcher gets next to the side. And that's another thing. But on the same side, because of that, they have that long body. And Seth, you could probably back me up. They got that really long body. They don't scramble. They don't fold quite as well in the thick stuff. So sometimes the big, long dogs, when they get caught on the ear, the hog will turn into them. And now that big, long body is like bound up in some bushes. And man, he's about to get whooped,
so
like being stuck in a tunnel with like a 200-pound man. You're not, if he gets a hand on you, you're in trouble.
Dean and Rigo are buddies. And shout out to Rigo. Clearly, Dean and Rigo are buddies because both of them had some of the best handles on hunting dogs I've seen in a long time. And Dean, patrons know, and guys, if you want to hear more of Dean kind of talk about his style and stuff, you can go listen to a tailgate talk I had with Dean about training these dogs. But Dean really likes that those big, powerful Sighthound crosses control the hog in like you were saying, Chad, in a nuanced way, but with great strength. They're not like, and I agree, I think you worded it well too, is they're not bulldogging the pig, but they are commanding it. And also, since they're 31 inches at the shoulder and they're a 145-pound dog, they have a way of exerting their center of gravity a little different than a dog that's coming up from below. That's how Dean described it to me. So different schools of thought. That's the beauty of hunting with dogs, is that I think this variety is really rad. And I've only seen one type.
It is. It definitely is very unique. On the marsh in southern Louisiana, the Sighthound's not going to excel. He's just not. A heavy brush, he's not going to excel. Mm-hmm. My hounds are not going to excel on a running match trying to catch a pig. They're just
the beauty of dogs, that versatility.
So, yeah, it is. It's cool that's the coolest thing, is being able to go around and see all these different styles of hunting, the different styles of dogs, and they all work for that application. That's what it's all about. And that's what the podcast is all about. People hunt in their areas, and they have found ways to perfect their craft and perfect the style of dog that they have, and can be highly successful. And it's just because it's different, it's definitely not wrong because they're being successful. And the most important thing is they're having fun.
And also,
doing it.
You can have a line of dogs in an area that's succeeding in that terrain, and then you can have different lines within that breed that are succeeding with people that are different training methods. People have their own personalities, what they like in a dog, what they like in a lineage, what they're breeding for in temperament. I love that versatility. I think that truly is my favorite thing about hunting with dogs, is that all that variety, all that success.
Well, I can tell you that there's going to be a lot more of this on Tailgate Talks on Patreon. So we do have to cut this off because we're recording this on the opening day of raccoon season in Indiana. I haven't missed one for 40 years, and I'm not going to miss one today for the podcast. So we've got to shut it down, guys. But if we piqued your interest about what's going on there, I know there's going to be a lot of Patreon content coming out, and we're going to follow up on this in other episodes as well. So Chad has one thing he's given me. He's giving me the finger.
Talk about us. Come on, we got to talk about me wearing the dang T-Rex costume.
Oh my gosh! Dude,
we got to bring it up.
Hey, we do need to talk about it, but we need to. Let's talk about it off the air. You give us the lowdown of what happened,
all right,
and build the suspense on this thing, and then we'll work on the
T-Rex
rest of it.
Bay. All right, guys. Well, Chris, go enjoy raccoon season. Get after it, Chad. Hey, patrons quickly too, guys. Everybody, listen up. I'm going to Texas. I'm going to hang out with the Blood Tracker. I'm going to get a lot of sweet content, videos, pictures, interviews, tailgate talks. It's all going there, guys. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up.
I think you missed my cue. I want Chad to talk briefly.
Oh, you said
the
off
T-Rex
air.
Costume. We're gonna follow up off air. This is the setup for stuff to come.
All right. The little teaser was, of course, it's Halloween. Like we're doing the bay trials, everything's going fine, and I'm sure everybody's seen a little video with the little inflatable T-Rex costumes with whoever doing whatever wild antics in the little costume. So I got myself one of those things, and wearing a Houndsman XP T-shirt as well. And
you bet.
And they brought two little terriers in that have been doing really good. Tyler Sladen's Aja and Chris Nellis's Sancho dog. And when I came out of the hog shoot, they lit up and came after me, and it was a good time. But I don't want to give too much.
That's enough of a teaser on that. We're gonna have some more stuff coming on that, and it was you stole the show,
amazing.
Chad. when you came out of that shoot, it was just like, holy cow,
the bay pin erupted.
Yes. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. It was awesome.
We got pictures and video of that too. So not only will we be talking about it, we can show you too. So
stay tuned.
Right. That's right. All right. Well, hey guys, I appreciate you guys taking time, and as always, I'm going to use my tagline. You follow your hounds, and I'll follow mine. Mm-hmm.